Howdy, everyone. My name's Nicholas, and welcome to the Headliner PodPod. We're a show about podcasts featuring podcasts by podcasters that's hosted by people who help podcasters with their podcasting. On each episode, a few of us folks over at Headliner sit down to play a game that centers around listening to randomly selected clips from over 500 episode submissions we've gotten from podcasters. Why? Well, in order to find what we call Pod Zero. Here are the rules. Each lucky contestant will hear a 60-second podcast clip. They'll then need to pick the correct podcast title from a lineup of 3 choices before being shown the artwork for that show. Before we get things on the road, though, let's say hi to each of our contestants for today. Starting with Pratik.
Yeah, everyone.
Next up, we've got Christy,
Let's go.
followed by Jesse,
Howdy ho, neighbors.
Oliver,
Let's get ready to podcast.
and Max. That was good. We can't use the other phrase because he is extremely litigious.
Now I'm left with nothing. So I would just say today's the day we get to Pod Zero. I'm excited, guys. Hope you're all caffeinated, espresso shots in your cold brew. It's
Yeah,
gonna be a long episode.
we're going to be here for
Pod
several
Zero.
hours. There will be an intermission halfway through it. And yeah,
The intermission is just the next episode. It's just the week.
it's
long
actually
gap.
just the next clip. And of course, we have Alyssa here as our producer.
Hi.
Alyssa, do you have any words of wisdom for us about cool products people should be using?
Have a cool product update that people should definitely try out. With Eddie by Headliner, you can create and now regenerate AI output. Eddie has always been capable of drawing inspiration from your RSS feed, but now you have more control in shaping the content for your podcast. Adjust Eddie's responses to continuously train Eddie on how to best assist you and create highly branded content for your podcast. To get started, visit eddie.headliner.app and view your podcast promo pack.
Cool. Awesome. And on that enchanting note, let's just get this party started. Pratik, you want to go first today?
Let's do it.
Neat.
Yeah, quite a few. In fact, yeah, outside of the United States, it's the largest subscribers of all that I have. So that is wonderful, wonderful. Now, let's take a look, and I think you mentioned a bit of it just briefly, looking at merging that scientific and biotechnology expertise for your clients. Now, how did this evolve for you? How did you get into this field? Now, I'm a business major in accounting. That's kind of what I'm about. But I know how mine arrived. I started working at 10 in my parents' store. That's how it came for me. How did that arrive for you in terms of this whole thing?
Here's what I'll say. I've always been an enthusiast about helping others. Sometimes to an extent where people don't want to be helped.
Okay.
And I have to curb that enthusiasm. So I've had that and I've learned a lot.
All right. There's your clip. And here are your options. Number 1, Wealth Academy Podcast. Wealth is more than just money. Number 2, Growing Your Personal Wealth Podcast. And number 3, Minding Your Money, a guide to growing your wealth podcast.
Well, they're all pretty similar, and I don't think the clip really gave me any hints to which one of those it'll be. I'll just go with the first one.
Okay. Wealth Academy Podcast. Wealth is more than just money is correct, Pratik.
Lucky yes.
There was actually a hint in there.
Oh, really?
Because he mentioned being like a business major. So that would have been the tell for me.
But weren't the other 2 names also about wealth and money and stuff?
Yeah, but
They
the
were
first one had
all
the word
very
academy.
Well,
So-
I got lucky.
Yeah. Good choice though. And it looks like our podcast artwork is perhaps a picture of this episode's guest, which is always, I don't know, it's a smart choice. It's a good choice for a podcast cover art. Anyway, this was from episode 257. Divya Purik provides expertise on advising businesses and on her book, Expert to Influencer. And here is our show description. The Wealth Academy podcast host asks listeners, who doesn't want to be wealthy or at least financially secure? We agree with listeners that money is essential to being able to take care of one's needs and wants. However, there are more important aspects of life that create and define wealth. Our mantra is wealth is more than just money. The The Wealth Academy podcast delves into a multitude of elements that constitute wealth, and host Paul Lawrence Van will provide solo broadcasts and invite guest speakers such as coaches, speakers, authors, financial experts, relationship experts, and consultants to assist in listeners better understanding what true wealth consists of: good health, love, good relationships, compassion, understanding, a healthy mind, body, and spirit. If one thinks all they need is money to be happy, they will be sadly disappointed. Subscribe, listen in, and discover what a healthy life really consists of. I love that I tripped up on the part after I had to rapid fire speak. It was the switching of the gears that got me there. Cool stuff all around, though. Jumping on over, let's go with Jesse next.
All right.
Click. We didn't kiss, didn't love, but now we do. This next song is one of the most interesting stories of the British psychedelic scene in the 1960s. Follow me on this one because it's a bit of a long story, but worth the payoff. Zoot Money and the Big Roll Band were formed in the early 60s, featuring vocalist and keyboard player Zoot Money. They primarily played soul and R&B tunes, but when the scene began to change and the psychedelic sound was all the rage, Zoot changed the name of the band to Dantalion's Chariot in 1967 and essentially rebranded them as an acid-tinged psychedelic rock band. They played shows with Pink Floyd and The Crazy World of Arthur Brown, performing in white robes with one of the best psychedelic light shows around.
All right. There was your clip, and here are your choices. Number 1, I'm in love with that song podcast. Number 2, the songs and music that made us. And number 3, OMG, I love that song, a podcast about our favorite songs.
All right. Right off the bat, I'm drawn to the first two. I don't feel like this guy is the kind of guy that would name his podcast OMG.
For
He
what
doesn't
it's worth,
sound.
OMG is usually capitalized, and this is not, so it's actually
Oh, okay.
putting it out there.
That could change some things. I'm still drawn to number two mostly. Songs
Okay.
and music that, what was it? Move us?
Made us.
Made us. Songs and music that
Hmm.
made us. Yeah, I like that. I think this sounds like a guy that's really digging deep into music. It's kind of been not necessarily like the most mainstream. I mean, it relates to Pink Floyd, but I feel like he's digging into kind of some of the supporting songs of
Sure.
that are the pop culture. So, number two, songs and music that made us.
So sorry. It actually was I'm in love with that song podcast.
Mm,
Although I would have gone with that too, because it sounds like that Netflix show, The Blank That
yeah.
Made Us. So, I would have fallen for that too. But good choice all around. I would have named my podcast that if I had a show about this exact thing. And yeah, cool artwork
Cool
all
artwork.
around.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, it literally looks like the old like compilation discs you might get on like a magazine like Mojo, where it's like obscure 60s psychedelia or something. So cool. And here's a bit about the show. This was from the episode Sifting Through Rubble, 1960s psychedelia from the UK, which explains why they were talking about Pink Floyd. And here's our description. Welcome to the I'm in love with that song podcast. Each episode will take one of my favorite songs and deep dive into it, listening to all the nuances that make it a great song. You may be unfamiliar with some of these songs, while others you've probably heard 100 times, but I bet if we listen closely, we can discover something new. Of course, there's no definitive answer to what makes a great song. Beauty is in the ear of the beholder. These are just my personal favorites, but I hope you'll love these songs too. We're proud to be a part of Pantheon, the podcast network for music lovers. So, there you have it. Cool stuff all around. I'm a huge sucker for 60s Pink Floyd, like Syd Barrett era, See Emily Play, all that stuff. Interstellar Overdrive. So I'm definitely gonna stick around and listen to this one and just learn about a band I hadn't heard of. Moving on to our next contestant. Let's go with Max.
All right. Pod Zero. Let's go.
Yeah, you're gonna have 499 clips, so just try and keep up, bud.
I'm ready.
Rapid fire.
They even brought in a few tourists from Judea and Samaria, from Palestinian Authority areas from, I think I saw one from Egypt, to show how nice Gaza is and come here as tourists. So, I thought, okay, they're trying to make they're building tourism. But after the 7th of October, I started to realize that that was just a con. It wasn't real. A lot of things that they were building and developing, I don't know how much of it was just for show, to show the Israelis that they weren't interested in war. There was a lot of construction going on. Hardly a day went past without the opening of a new business.
Okay. There's your
Wow.
clip.
Heavy clip.
Yeah, that was definitely a heavy clip, especially after just like British psychedelia,
Yeah.
you know. But
The PodPod is getting political.
it throws
Um,
curveballs at us.
best wishes
So,
to all civilians in the Middle East.
yeah. Here are your options, Max, on that note. Number 1, Johnny Gold's Jewish State. Number 2, Johnny's World Podcast. And number 3, I've Been Everywhere. Johnny C's Inside Look.
What was the middle one?
Johnny's World Podcast, which has a nice little like double meaning to it. I kind of love that.
What's the double meaning?
Johnny's World as in the world Johnny lives in, or Johnny's World as in it's Johnny's podcast about the world.
I guess that's a double meaning.
It is a double, like, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but you could read it both ways.
I feel like it's open to interpretation.
Yes.
Mm, the first one was Johnny's Jewish State podcast.
Johnny Gold's Jewish State. Yeah. Gould's, not Gold's. OU.
I'm just going to wager that this is a heavy topic to go on for a general travel podcast. And so I'll go with the first one, thinking this
Okay.
is specialized, but we'll see.
And you are correct, sir. It was Johnny Gould's Jewish State. And here's a bit about the show. What's that?
Deductive logic. Hooray.
Yeah. Very Sherlock of you. So this is from episode 148. What's that?
Does that mean you're Watson?
I guess so.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess I am Watson. How about that? So here's our show description. This is Johnny Gould's podcast of record and diplomacy for Israel and the Jewish diaspora. These are conversations for everyone with top guests and their most essential thoughts and perspectives. And yeah, sounds, I don't know, kind of interesting. I'm intrigued by the cover art just because even though we left the British psychedelia theme, we're still like very much in that duotone look. So how about that? Bit of a connecting fiber for you. Jumping over, let's go to our next contestant, which is Christy.
All right, let's go.
Neat.
For that, Doc brought in another acquaintance we'll call Vitete, because it was his last name. Another career criminal adept at breaking into safes and with some money to invest in the caper. Now it was time to brave the stench of the sewer and dig. And the group got together using pneumatic drills, jackhammers, and other tools to do it over the course of months. And no one topside was the wiser. And then one day, they reached the walls of the vault. With the addition of a new accomplice they would call El Nene, the infant, their crew was complete, and now they would wait for the right moment. On January 13th, 2006, at 12:20 p.m., 4 men walked into Banco Rio, one dressed in a gray suit and the other in an apron and a wig. They were Doc and Beto.
Okay, there was your clip, Christy.
I want to know more.
I know, right? I was so into that. When they mentioned the infant, I don't know why. Maybe it's been on the internet too much. I just imagined baby Yoda. but that's clearly a me
See the
problem.
baby.
Yeah. Yeah, just Werner Herzog. I want to see the baby. So here are your choices for today.
All right.
The Mysteries of Latin America podcast. Number 2, Untold Tales of Latin America. And number 3, Livin' La Vida Legends, Unsolved Mysteries of Latin America.
I have to do the last one. It's too
Yeah,
good.
it's really good.
It's really good. Even if I'm wrong, I'm good. That's it. Just lock it in.
Like Pink Floyd once sang, you've become comfortably wrong.
Good. I'm good.
There you go.
Because whoever wrote that's great.
Yeah,
Melissa,
Roger
was that
Waters
you?
he wrote that for you.
Who wrote that for me?
Roger Waters did when he said you're comfortably wrong.
Yes. Okay. And that's okay. Great title. They should think of switching it to that one because it's awesome.
Yeah. It actually was the Mysteries of Latin America podcast. So sorry.
All right.
And here is a bit about our show. This is from the episode The Robbery of the Century, Argentina's Real Money Heist. And our description goes, hear compelling stories about missing persons, UFOs, paranormal phenomena, ancient mystical sites, witchcraft, and more with me, your host, Andrew Kalan. When I moved to Mexico 30 years ago, I had no idea how this part of the world was so rich in stories of myths, legends, and unsolved mysteries, and most have never been heard in English. I had to share them and thus began this podcast. So that's super cool. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. And I also really like the artwork for this. It feels like the artwork to like a VHS I'd find in the back of a Blockbuster 30 years ago. So bonus points there. I don't know. Am I the only one getting that like vibe from it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for entertaining me with that. At any rate.
Division.
Yeah. At any rate, that's just my aesthetic, unfortunately. But let's go on to our next and our final clip for the day. Oliver, are you ready for this?
I am prepared, ready. Let's do it.
All right.
Great. That's great. I'm going to imagine that's going to save a lot of time back and forth and back and forth. And
it's going to allow me to continue to run my business by myself for a longer period of time before I have to bring on more help. So that's a big deal, when you're watching your bottom line. So.
And is this, so we're in 2024 now, which is
crazy.
Still kind of crazy. Is this like your main goal for 2024? Is it get this all fully in place and done and, take that load off of you and just make things easier? That's your goal for 2024?
Absolutely. Work smarter, not harder. And that's where Imagine has really helped me out a lot. So yes, that's my goal, to automate those things, but to still have that personal touch. So that way it might be an automated email, but I'm still responding to them. It's still going to have their name. It's still going to be personalized.
All right. And
before I get the clues, Nicholas, could I tender a guess?
By all means.
The name of this podcast. Thank you. Is it the Slack is Whack podcast?
No.
That's a good name.
That is a good name, though.
Oh, well,
that'd be a good name for our podcast.
You win some, you lose some. All right.
Do we hate Slack that much? We're just gonna talk about Slacks. How
much Slack is awesome, guys. I'm not gonna.
Are we talking about Slack the app or Slacks the type of pants? I feel like both work in a remote working context.
I was talking about the pants.
Okay, thank you, Max. We're on the same page today.
I think it's Slack is Wax. Season 1 is the pants. Season 2 is the app.
The third one is for rock climbers specifically, and how actually belaying with a lot of slack isn't that cool. Kind of a weak move. Like, rookie mistake. Go watch Cliffhanger.
I was like pre and post COVID, like pre slacks the pants, post the little tip tap one.
Okay. There you go. I'm thinking years down the line when society crumbles and we all have to climb rocks to stay alive. That's what's happening there.
I mean, too much slack can lead to injuries, so I agree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oliver, I feel like you would know that.
Yeah.
No.
So, okay, Oliver. Unfortunately, it was not Slack is Whack. Here are the options to choose from, though. Number 1, workflows. Number 2, photography in a digital world. And number 3, Click, Click, Clack, a podcast about remote life.
Option one.
Okay. Yep.
Signed,
He
sealed, delivered. Let's get that W on the board.
he got that. Yep.
I
That
did?
was yeah, you did.
Oh,
Nice.
yes.
I think it was all the first one today,
It
wasn't it?
was. It
It
was.
was. It was indeed.
Jess, did you catch that?
Yeah, I didn't want to say it though because I got it wrong. I didn't catch it quick enough.
Well, I made sure to
Sure,
have Jesse go
Jesse.
early in the game specifically so that he couldn't use that information.
Y'all remember that commercial where it's like an insurance commercial and it's the guy, he's got the fishing pole and he's like, "Ooh, gotta be quicker than that."
Yes.
Yeah, I actually do.
Good times.
Good stuff. All right. So this is from the episode How to Run a Prosperous Photography Studio Remotely. And a little bit of fun trivia for everyone. I almost misread that as prophorus, the type of poison. So yeah, that almost took a really bad turn. Anyway, here is our show description. Workflow is a podcast about saving your time and money in your photography business. As a photographer and content creator who struggles with dyslexia, color blindness, introversion, and anxiety stemming from years of being bullied as a child, workflows have been my rock. I have workflows for every aspect of my life. That's why I'm so happy to bring you Workflows, a podcast presented by Imagine AI. As a company dedicated to saving you time and money in your photography business, it makes sense to enhance and expand the conversation to all things workflow. Tune in and subscribe to hear stories, strategies, and tools that could be your rock. Hear from people just like you. Put the camera down for a little, conned the headphones, and I don't know what that means, and get to work with workflows. Get in on the conversation by joining the Imagine AI community today. The revolution is here. So there you have it. Any photographers in the house?
I hope not. At least not in my house.
How strange. Okay. Mildly concerned by that, but sure, man, you do you.
Oh man.
I was gonna say I do like as a hobby, but now I'm embarrassed because
It's okay, Oliver. I'm a hobbyist photographer too.
okay.
We've had this conversation before. Me and my using expanded film, me and using expired film phase. At any rate, cool stuff. And I'm actually really curious what workflows in particular. I know this is like more business facing than like photography facing, but I'm actually like so curious what that means because I always thought photographers just took the photos, developed them, and then tossed them into Lightroom anyway. But that's just me. Anyway,
My process, if you're curious, is
I want to hear this.
I open up this app called Camera on my phone and I
Okay,
hit the button and then I never look at it again. That's
The
my
way I just
photography
spit
workflow.
across my room when you said that.
What? What did you spit? Why'd you spit?
I was taking a drink of water and you
Oh, I
said
got a
my
spit
process
take.
is I open this app called Camera and I just lost it.
I'm very honored to have created a spit take, to have the honor of a spit take. Thank you.
It's a rare feeling. It's a rare feeling of satisfaction. For what it's worth.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. What were you saying, Oliver?
Well, Max is talking about the camera app on the phone, and Nicholas, you're talking about using expired photography, and I think that's a great question. Something I want to ask you all, and I think this is going to come through, but something very odd is happening with my camera on my phone, and I want to try to show you all the effect.
Are we turning into like a tech serve podcast?
So there I am.
Yeah, we've been that.
Can we get there?
You look blurry.
We see you.
What are we looking for?
Just give me a minute. I gotta hit the camera a few times. Oh, it's not doing it. It goes, it like the camera becomes ocean waves. Like something wrong with the stabilization in it, and it starts like,
oh, like everything becomes wavy.
Yeah, it's like, woo, but I can't make it happen now, so this is not cool, but
I actually think I know what that is. It might be there isn't enough light when you're using the phone, so it's doing long exposures. Because people on Twitter were complaining about that this week. And it's like, guys, that's a feature, not a bug.
But it like looks like a wave. It's like, whoa, whoa.
But you don't have like the new, like I thought it was just like the
no,
new
it's been doing
iPhones.
that for years.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah, what happens is when there isn't enough light, the iPhone creates enough light by taking a long exposure. But if you have really shaky hands, it completely throws everything out of focus because it's taking like 100 pictures and compositing them.
Oh, I have shaky hands.
Yeah, so,
It
you
just
know,
did when I wasn't showing you, but now it's not doing it. Damn
there
it.
you go.
It's because of the light. Anyhow, sorry.
Nope, at
I got
any rate, this is the podcast. This is like my expertise, guys. We would thrive. Anyway, on that note, we are out of clips for today. So, thank you to everyone for playing. Thank you to Jesse for not realizing our pattern like as soon as the game started. And yeah, I guess we'll catch everyone on the next game.